I'm Justin with ExtremeTerrain.com, and on this episode of Throttle Out, we take a deep dive into our brand new 2021 Bronco and put it to the test. Let me introduce you to the newest member of the XT fleet. That's right, our very own 2021 Bronco, four-door Big Bend model in this very sharp Velocity blue color. And before we start modding this thing, we wanted to give you an in-depth look at the Big Bend model here, throw it on our in-house dyno, and then take it for a little spin. Guys, keep in mind, this is just the tip of the iceberg when we're talking Bronco content, so you're gonna wanna subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already for more content, product overviews, and more. So we got a lot to talk about with this thing. Let's get after it. Now, if you guys didn't know, Ford loves to define the trim level for each truck with a unique front end. It's something they've done a lot with the F-150, and now it's something they're doing with the 6th generation Bronco. Case in point, there are 7 unique grills thanks to the 7 different trim levels. We have the base, the Big Bend shown here in the shop, the Black Diamond, the more on-road focused Outer Banks, the Wild Track, Badlands, and then finally the limited edition, first edition, again, all with 7 unique faces. Now, unlike the F-150 that we just mentioned, the Bronco's grille is very easy to remove. In fact, 4 10mm bolts, this entire thing pops right out, and that's gonna beg for modifications down the road, and that's a theme I think you'll see throughout the entire Bronco. Now, inside of those 7 unique grills, you'll find one of 2 different headlight options here for the 6th gen Bronco. We have the base lights shown here in our Big Bend. There is a signature lighting package available on the Outer Banks trim levels and up. Now, the signature lighting does add the very cool halo LED incorporated into this portion here. I also think that the base lighting kind of captures more of that retro vibe. It's without all the fancy lighting. Do incorporate your running lights into this portion as well as your turn signals. Now, those lights actually bookend your white Bronco lettering here, which is present on 6 different trim levels. The only one it is not is the base, which gives you the stealthier black Bronco nameplate instead. Bronco's also giving you 2 different options for the front bumper here. As you guys can see, we have the base bumper on our Big Bend. Nothing too fancy, it's a plastic covering. Do have a couple tow hooks, of course, down there, and the Big Bend does kick in some LED fog lights, which is a nice touch. The cooler bumper, though, no doubt, is that heavy-duty modular steel front bumper, which will allow for additions like bash plates, brush guards, and even a factory offered winch from Warn. Now, the cool thing about this winch, we learned from Ford, is that they went through and crash tested different Broncos with the winch in place because, in their words, it tends to affect the parameters in which your airbags will deploy. So if that is an option you go with either from the factory or if you add it down the road, you can take your Bronco to the service department. They'll flash your SRS or your airbag system to work better with that winch in place. So very cool, and hats off to Ford for thinking about safety. But one other thing I want to point out with that modular bumper, guys, it does have those Bronco bolts that you may have heard about. This is basically an area that's begging for modification and or removal. And in this case, it will allow you to remove the bumper ends on that steel bumper, making for a lot more clearance, a lot better approach angle, and a much cooler look. At the front end is one area that Ford absolutely killed it here at the 2021 Bronco. They've applied that retro 1st gen styling to the modern 6th gen chassis, and it's captured the attention of a lot of enthusiasts out there, both young and old. Moving down the side of the truck, you'll see Ford kept that sheet metal nice and boxy, just like the OG truck. They didn't round this thing off. But unlike the predecessors that came before it, this is the first time ever the Bronco is offered with 4 doors. And Ford actually expects the 4-door variant to heavily outsell the 2-door. But while we're on the side of the truck, let's talk about some key areas here, starting up front with our trail sights. Now, those guys are standard on every single Bronco, and not only do they help you place the truck off-road on some tight trails, but they also serve as a very functional area for things like auxiliary light mounting. Tie-down location supporting upwards of 150 pounds each, and they can also be used as a mounting point for limb risers. Now, our Big Bend is essentially one step up from a base truck. So in place of Steelies, yes, Steelies are still a thing in 2021. We have these 17-inch painted aluminum wheels in gunmetal here, wrapped in the 255/75 R17 Bridgestone all-terrain tires. Now, Bronco's getting 9 different wheel choices altogether, including a couple beadlock capable options and a segment first 35-inch mud terrain tire on the very awesomely named Sasquatch package. Now above those 17-inch painted wheels here on our Big Ben, you'll find one of 3 different flare options, shockingly easy to remove by the way. But shown here in our Big Ben is our standard flare, if you will. You'll find this on a majority of your trucks out there. There's also a paint matched option solely on your outer banks. And then last but not least, there is a wider option to fit the burly tires on that previously mentioned Sasquatch. Now again, these things extremely easy to remove. In fact, 5/4 turns, a hard yank, and you can have all 4 flares off in a matter of minutes. This is easily another part where Ford's been taking notes, paying attention to the aftermarket, and applying it to the new Bronco. Another area Ford took notes, cowl-mounted side mirrors, right? Now Jeep guys, you know all about this. If you want to take the doors off in your Jeep, you have to buy aftermarket mirrors because those side mirrors are attached to your doors. Not the case here. Now Ford polled a ton of Jeep owners, asked them their pain points, and this was a reoccurring theme with a lot of them. So Ford slapped the mirrors right onto the cowl, right out of the factory. So you can take your doors off and not have to deal with that issue. Now next to these mirrors up here, you're gonna find more accessory ready panels. Those Bronco bolts I just told you all about, in addition to a killer spot for some auxiliary lighting. And this of course brings us to our doors. Yes, another pain point for Jeep owners out there. It's okay guys, you can admit it. This is another area Ford noticed some of the complaints that Jeep owners had and simply improved upon them. First things first, guys, you'll notice these doors from the Bronco are frameless, meaning there's no window frame here, which is gonna do 2 things. It's gonna make the door a lot lighter so you can muscle it off easier, and it's also gonna make them easier to store. In fact, you can fit all 4 doors from the 4-door Bronco in the rear cargo area. Great option for owners out there who don't have a storage solution like a garage. Now 4-door doors are about 40 pounds a piece here. 2-door doors are about 60 pounds, so not light, but they're not exactly heavy either. But the best part is extremely easy to remove. In fact, you can have a door off, I would say, in 2 minutes. 2 13mm bolts, a simple plug, and you can have the door off. So big time improvement over the competition, and again, one of those areas that I think might get the Jeep owner's attention. Of course, we can't talk doors without talking roof, another area future and current owners of the Bronco are super excited about, so let's break them all down. Standard roof option for your 4-door is gonna be the soft top you guys see right here on our Big Ben. Standard roof option on your 2-door is gonna be this MIC hardtop or molded in color. Now that's kind of a dark gray color. It's a molded resin option that Ford claims isn't gonna be easy to scratch off-road. There is a 3rd and final option coming later on in 2022 or 23. It's gonna be the painted modular hardtop, and as the name implies, gonna give you some more flexibility with panel removals and will be either black or body color. But soft top here is no slouch and has a lot of different configurations. First and foremost is kind of the Sunrider option, I'm calling it. Fold the first half back, it's giving you that convertible feel for both the front and rear passengers. My personal favorite though, without a doubt guys, is full open. It's giving you 13 feet of unobstructed views and is easily one of the best parts about the Bronco experience. Now you can also give yourself a safari top option. So basically you leave the top like this, you get these back and side windows off, and that gives you kind of that safari vibe. And if you wanted to ditch this thing altogether, you can remove the entire frame and soft top with 6 13mm bolts. It's pretty easy to do. You might just need a buddy to do it. So modularity, my friends, it's the word of the day and something that you guys can see Bronco does very well. Now, unfortunately, our Big Ben trim does not come equipped standard with any rock sliders or side steps, which even as a taller guy, I will say is a bummer because getting in and out of the Bronco can be a bit challenging. Now, one area I do want to talk about before actually moving to the rear, something kind of smaller, but I think is very cool, and that is every body panel essentially on this thing can be unbolted and replaced rather easily. Now, obviously that's nothing new for a fender up front, but for a rear quarter panel back here, you guys know the deal with your Jeeps. If you get into a rock or an obstacle off-road and you bang this up, that's an automatic trip to the body shop and one that's probably pretty expensive. Not the case here at the Bronco. A few bolts, you can have this off and then a new one on in a matter of minutes. So very cool on Ford's behalf. They knew people were going to be beating these things up and as a result, made them very easy to fix. All right, guys, so we got a lot going on with the back of the new Bronco here, so let's just get right to it. Starting with the aesthetics. These taillights, one of two different options you'll find on the 2021 Bronco. Since the Big Ben is more of a base level truck, these are the base incandescent lighting. If you do move into a more plush package, you will get a full LED taillight that certainly looks a lot better in my opinion. Outside of that, listen, the Bronco can tow. Now, our truck is not equipped with the tow package, but you can grab one with the Class 2 hitch, and it will tow 3,500 pounds. It's not gonna set the world on fire, of course, but if you're towing a small camper, maybe a UTV or a couple of jet skis, it can definitely do it. But what do you say we talk about this swing out tailgate? And as you can see, it does house your full size spare here, guys. Obviously you can do the 35 if you have the Sasquatch package, but I've even seen a 37 back here, so this thing can support some weight. Let's show you how this thing operates though, guys. Just go ahead and swing it on out. You got two detent positions, so basically one here at 90 degrees. This is kind of nice, right? So if you open it up, you're not gonna have to worry about that thing slamming into the car next to you or maybe a wall. But if you do need more space, it will go to about 120 degrees, as you guys can see there. As for the back, you do have a lot of space. Again, you can fit all four doors of your four-door Bronco back here. There is also a cool little storage space next to your jack. The storage space has a built-in drain, and that's cool. You can fill this thing up with ice, throw some beer, throw some soda in there, take this thing to your next tailgate. One thing we didn't show you with the soft top earlier, it's a very cool feature, so let me break it down for you. Grab these two handles, push up, and now you have an easy load mode. So basically you can fit larger cargo in here if you need to, and that's something that, again, does go to the usefulness of that soft top. Outside of that, guys, we do have some accessory ready panels back on the tailgate. I've seen flip down tables, some gear holding storage solution type things. Very cool. And there is a slide out tailgate coming with the old school Ford lettering in it. Very, very cool. And also very useful. It can support the weight of two full grown adults. It can be used as a prep surface or table, and it can even be used as a step. So eventually, if you guys do like an overland build or something like that, you pull out the slide out tailgate, you can use that as a step to access to the top of your Bronco. So a lot of cool stuff going on back here. Again, modularity is the key. But enough about the outside, let's check out the inside of this bad boy. The interior space is also another big win for me with the new Bronco, guys. I just love the layout. I think they did a great job kind of organizing everything. Driver position feels great. And while our mid-level package Big Ben certainly isn't doing any favors at showing off the full capabilities of the Bronco interior, it's certainly very livable. Now, you're looking at the base 8-inch screen here, guys, in our Big Ben. There is a massive 12-inch screen available that certainly is a sizable upgrade in both tech and also physicality. You're also looking at a 6.5-inch productivity screen in the cluster there, along with an analog speedometer. Interior is roomy enough, I would say, for a family hauler or daily driver out there, even for tall guys like myself in the back. As long as the front seats aren't slid all the way back, you can certainly get away with riding in the rear. Now, outside of that, guys, we do have the base cloth in here. It's kind of the black onyx space gray combination, but there's a number of different cloth, leather, and even marine grade vinyl seating options depending on your trim level. Black Diamond and Badlands models even come with a washable rubber floor with both passive and active drain plugs built in. So if you have a muddy day out in the trail, you can basically take this thing in, hose it off, and be good to go. I do actually really like the handles scattered throughout the interior of the Bronco, especially again with our Big Ben. Without having those side steps, this is certainly gonna help you get in the truck a lot easier. My advice here, guys, take advantage of the $200 option for the upfitter switches. Makes running and installing auxiliary lighting that much easier. You run all of your wires under the hood, and there you pick them up. They're all fused, they're all relayed, they're ready to go. You don't have to drill a bunch of holes and just make a big mess of your brand new Bronco. Touch points are pretty nice for this thing. Again, we got a mixture of hard plastics, leather wrap steering wheel here in our Big Ben. I like the rubber buttons up on the dash. This is a place where you'll find your front and rear lockers if you have that Sasquatch package. We also have the trail turn assist. With this activated, it basically locks the rear inward wheel whenever you're making a tight turn. So tight turn on the trail, or just makes donuts a lot more easy as well. Of course, we can't leave the interior without talking about the GOAT modes, right? Goes over any terrain. That was actually the original code name for the Bronco back in the 60s before it became the Bronco. And this is really cool, right? It gives you a lot of options depending on what your situation is. For instance, we have a normal mode, an eco mode here, which is gonna be your most fuel efficient mode, of course. Sport mode kind of cranks up throttle response, things like that, makes the truck feel a little peppier. We can go one more into our slippery mode. It's gonna kick in our four-wheel drive, mud and ruts, and then finally there is a sand mode with this particular truck. Now other trucks out there, for instance, will have maybe a Baja mode. So the total number of GOAT modes does depend on the trim level that you are in. Very cool stuff. Again, this is just going to affect things like your throttle input, your steering response, front and rear locker if equipped, and more. So hats off to Ford. Again, they make going off-road a lot easier, especially if you are completely new when it comes to the world of getting dirty and getting off-road. You'll also notice here, gang, that we do have the automatic shifter in our Big Ben. That's because we do have the 10-speed automatic behind the 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6. There is also a 7-speed manual with that crawler gear that you can only get behind the 2.3-liter EcoBoost. But what do you say we hop out? We'll talk about those engines underneath the hood and show you what's up. Now, we did just mention that 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, basically the same motor found in the EcoBoost Mustang and the Focus RS. And in Bronco form, it's cranking out 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque on 93 octane. Ford gives us those numbers on 93. They say it makes about 5 to 10 less on 87 octane. Now that's made possible, of course, thanks to Ford's adaptive knock sensors that basically do things like add or subtract things like timing or boost based on your octane levels. Now, while those 2.3-liter numbers sound pretty healthy on paper, I will say the truck did feel a little bit sluggish, especially when equipped with the Sasquatch's 35-inch tires. Now, our 2.7-liter here, on the other hand, did not. This thing's pulled directly out of the F-150, and let me tell you guys, it is an absolute rocket ship. You're looking at 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque, again on 93 octane, a little bit less on 87, and it is only backed by that 10-speed automatic transmission. I know, much to the chagrin of manual fans out there like myself. But hey, there is a lone bright spot on the topic of gearboxes. Ford has announced that they are gonna offer a manual Sasquatch in 2022, which was not available for 2021. That's certainly the package for me, man. But I tell you what, we have a Dyno Jet in-house here at Extreme Terrain. So what do you say we strap this thing down and see how she does? Well, guys, we just finished up the second of 2 dyno runs with our 2021 Bronco. Again, the 2.7 under the hood, like we just told you about. It does have 93 octane in the tank, so technically we should be making that 330 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque at the crank. You have to keep that in mind here, guys. Those advertised numbers from the manufacturer are always rated at the crank. We have what is called a chassis dyno here, so basically it's measuring horsepower and torque to the wheels. So typically, depending on your transmission, there's about 10 to 15% loss through what is called drivetrain loss. Turning the transmission, the drive shaft, and in this case, our big 33-inch tires. Just so you know, technical data here, guys, with the 10-speed automatic transmission, 7th is the 1-to-1 gear ratio. However, that is ludicrous speed. And with the stock speed limiter in place, we could not do that. So 5th was our next best option to get a nice, clean, full pull. But enough about that. Let's break down these numbers. And man, this thing is remarkably consistent. 295 horsepower both times. First pull torque-wise was 376. Second pull was 379. So guys, this thing's actually overperforming. That's even better than a 10% drivetrain loss. I would say it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 9%, which is fantastic. Again, this is you know, a pretty fresh engine, obviously, not really broken in per se. So I would say to be making 295 horsepower, 379 pound-feet of torque at the tires is pretty stout overall. And again, the 2.7 in this chassis is just an absolute blast. So enough yapping. What do you say we get this thing unstrapped and go for a spin? That 2.7 feels pretty peppy off the line. Again, we're not really hammering on it right now. We're just kind of cruising around. 10-speed auto feels great. Obviously, it gets you through the gears real quick. So I'd say easily one of the most widely debated topics about the new Bronco here, at least when it was first released or announced, was the decision to go with an IFS, independent front suspension, right? That was definitely a bummer to a lot of the hardcore rock crawlers out there. Listen, there's no doubt that a solid front axle is going to be a lot more durable over rocky terrain. Certainly going to offer a little bit more articulation, but for the most part, for most owners out there not looking to enter the king of hammers, the IFS is going to do the job just fine. And honestly, as someone who has driven both, the IFS is going to be light years better than the Jeep here on the road. Honestly, guys, you get the impression that you're actually controlling the truck rather than responding to it or reacting to it, as is the case with those solid front axle Jeeps. Suspension is going to be coilovers, both front and rear. You got a 5-link suspension in the rear, basically 2 upper, 2 lower control arms. You have a panhard bar as well. Again, that Sasquatch package that we talked about earlier comes equipped with the very, very good position sensitive Bilsteins here, which again, I think are a must buy, that entire package. Now listen guys, overall dynamics of the truck feel remarkably pleasant. Everybody that kind of sits in this thing comments on just how comfortable it is. And listen, for a body on frame design, it drives really, really well. Soft top is going to be a bit noisy. It's really not terrible at low speeds here, but obviously once you get up to highway speeds, you hear it a lot more. Jeep owners, this is something you guys have lived with. Ford hasn't figured out how to make physics stop working, basically, right? You got a drafty top, therefore you're gonna have a little bit of noise. All right, speaking of feeling pretty peppy, what do you say we do a quick 0 to 60 test here and see what our draggy says? Ready? Stall it up a little bit. And let it rip. Woohoo! All right, well, there you go. 6.8 0 to 60 times. Certainly not winning any drag races with this thing against Mustangs, but at least now you know how fast it is. But overall, guys, listen, this is something I could easily see myself driving every day, taking a road trip in, and not getting beat up. I know Jeep guys are just gonna hate me saying that, and basically, I get it, right? Because you're pointing out the one glaring downfall. Now, not every Jeep owner is going to admit that, but the reality is a lot of people that I know are gonna tell you driving a Jeep on the road isn't always fun, especially when you start hanging 35s or 37s off it. It kind of beats you up a little bit. Listen, they're beasts off-road, we get it, but let's be honest, guys, most owners buying these things, whether it's a Jeep, whether it's a Bronco, are gonna spend a majority of your time on the road. Ford knew this and they said, hey, you know what, we're gonna make a compromise here. We're gonna make this thing a lot more enjoyable to drive on the road every day, and maybe give up a foot or less of articulation, or maybe give up just a little bit of durability for comfort. You know what I mean? And let's be honest, I've talked to guys who have had a hand in developing this thing. They've taken it to Moab, they've beaten it up, and they said the Bronco really never missed a beat. You know, they never had really any failures per se. And listen, I think that's a very promising sign. But overall, guys, again, impressions on the road here with the Bronco. It's one of the bright spots. What can I say? I think Ford did a great job of making this thing very enjoyable to drive on the road and still being able to hold its own off the road as well. Well, to wrap things up here, listen guys, I think Ford built one hell of a cool looking truck that's very capable off-road, and one that's going to give Jeep the competition they deserve. Why do I say that? Well, because listen, as enthusiasts, competition between the brands is only gonna force them to make a better product, and at that point, we all win, right? Now, me personally, listen, I cannot wait to order a 4-door manual Sasquatch in white and 22 because I am in love. The retro vibes, the on and off-road performance, and the endless modding possibilities. I mean, what's not to love, right? Listen, we hope you guys love this video. As always, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content like this and detailed product install videos coming your way very soon. But in the meantime, I'm Justin. For all things Bronco, be sure to keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.